running from your challenge rarely is a good decision. Running from your challenge or your crisis is rarely a good decision. You may find momentary escape, but it might lead you to a decade of sorrow and disappointment. Wasn't it Churchill who said, after the euphoria of Dunkirk and the saving of 300,000 British and Allied troops, he wanted to temper the enthusiasm of the people, and he reminded them that wars are not won by evacuations. And typically speaking, generally speaking, running from challenges, hard circumstances, is usually not a good decision. I think it was Erwin Lutzer who said in his book, Making the Best of a Bad Decision, we are free to make our choices, but we are not free to choose their consequences. Bear that in mind. Think about that. In fact, I want to balance that idea of Elimelech's bad decision leading to a decade of despair. I do want to balance that because the book of Ruth, as we saw last week, it ends on a really good note. It begins on a very sour note. It begins with death. It begins with a bad decision. It begins with faithlessness to the covenant. But it ends with a marriage and a birth. And Boaz and Ruth and their bloodline being incorporated into the line of David and ultimately the genealogy of Jesus. And so I want to remind myself and you that even if we do make a bad decision or we have made a bad decision, I don't want you to despair. You're free to make your choice. You're not free to choose your consequences. And those consequences can be very, very bitter. But you know what? Our unfaithfulness in the past does not preclude us to a God-planned, enriched future. And Ruth would remind us of that. That even our messes can be swallowed up into the mystery of God's providence. And God, in a very gracious act of mercy and grace, can bring us to another place. So if you're about to make a rash and an emotional decision and run from responsibility and compound sin on top of sin, be careful. And if you've made that and you're wallowing in guilt, I want to remind you that all things work together, even our sin. And if we repent and make a new start with God, God can write a new chapter in our lives.